A forestry contractor says visa rules should be relaxed for overseas planters if the government wants to reach its 1 billion trees target. The target is to plant a mix of 1 billion native and exotic trees by 2028 to support a low-emissions economy, protect the environment and create ongoing employment. MSD is looking to recruit 750 workers to forestry this season alone. Contractors have told Checkpoint it's hard to get and keep local workers in what is a physically demanding industry that requires drug-free workers. Forestry contractor Nathan Fogden says 40% of his crews are overseas workers, but the bureaucracy of reapplying for visas annually and limits on the years they can work in New Zealand is constraining the industry and could slow growth towards 1 billion trees.
We try to operate 7 to 8 man crews, and typically speaking, we're a complete crew short at the moment, plus some positions in other crews. So I would say we're 10 to 15 guys short.
Right, okay, so let's hit for the middle there. You are about a dozen workers short. So what does that mean in terms of your planting targets and what you can achieve?
What it means is that our business, for the clients that we work for, thinking of the topography that we're going to be asked to plant in through this current winter, and looking at the realistic targets per man per day for what we'd expect in terms of output for experienced workers, not learners, because when guys are learning, that number certainly comes down quite a bit on what your expected output is. But if we were saying those 12 guys are experienced people, we're probably 500,000 trees shy of doing what we would have liked to have done this season. And I have had to turn the work away because of it, and there will be blocks of land that were scheduled for planting this winter, and that's in the Central North Island, that won't get planted.
So if you're facing that scenario, do you think others are in the same boat?
I have no doubt that others are in the same boat. Through the working groups I'm part of, I have discussion with other contractors, and most people are in the same boat. And I'm certainly aware of some contractors that are in identical situations to myself at the moment.
Would it be fair to say if you're 500,000 trees short in terms of your planting targets because of labour shortages, would it be fair to say that labour shortages could potentially be putting the billion trees target in jeopardy if you don't get this sorted?
Oh, certainly. I think Minister Jones needs to be very worried about the struggles that our industry is facing to either attract New Zealanders. And when I say attract New Zealanders, they need to be, the right New Zealanders that want to turn up to work and work 5 days a week. But it's certainly a challenging job, and we need to attract the right people to do it, because we have a lot of health and safety risks out in the forest. So we want people that can think and follow instructions. So just someone just picking up a spade and chucking them out there because they're unemployed or, that's not necessarily the answer. They need to be the right person that is looking for the work and can follow the instructions to keep themselves and other workers around them safe. How
heavily do you rely on overseas workers?
So I'm a mixed nationality business now, and I would say that at this current time, about 40% of our workers are from overseas, basically at the moment all Pacific Island countries, and those guys have been a fantastic addition to our crews. But there is a huge challenge to A, get the guys here in the first place, and B, to actually manage to keep them here in and around, obviously, the migrant worker policies that we currently have.
Right, so at the moment, you get a visa for 12 months and then you can renew it. So I'm assuming this is what you're bringing your workers in under, which is the essential skills visa. Bring them in for 12 months and then you can keep renewing the visa, but for only up to 3 years, isn't it?
That's correct. That's come into play in the time that we've been bringing guys over from overseas.
Is 3 years not enough for you to have them for?
Well, the reality is that I want workers long term, because we do multiple different tasks over the course of the year, and every time we go into a task, it is a fair bit of revenue invested by the business in training time, teaching new skills. And so from that perspective, if I have a guy here for 1 year, he'll probably learn 3 different tasks, of which after that year he'll be proficient in each task. But I've probably spent a total of in the vicinity of 4 to 5 months of, where it's been basically cost neutral, but financially rewarding. There's been no reward back to our business in the sense that we're spending a lot of money teaching the guy, and basically we get the work done for our client, but we get no profit back into our business from that person, so to speak.
So you are investing a lot of money in training these workers and time, and then basically are you saying to me that they get to a proficient level and then you've got limited time with them because they get to the 3 years and then that's it? You can't bring them back?
Well, if they only get, put it this way, there's no guarantee you'll get to 3 years if for a starter, in the sense that in the ideal scenario, firstly, that person wants to stay and do, renew their visas. But there is no guarantee that the visa will be renewed. You have to continue to prove that you're doing everything you can to employ a New Zealander first and foremost, which we do. And then from that perspective, perhaps if the person's been here for 12 months and you spent all that money in training time and you get them to sign in and, they decide they want to return or renew their visa, there's no guarantee that, of course, Immigration New Zealand will renew that person's visa. You've usually got to prove a few things to get approved, and which is fine. I mean, that's all well and good, because I'm also aware that, our industry has abused migrant workers, and I don't think that's fair either.
So do you want some more certainty? Would you like a longer visa period, longer than 12 months at a time then, to cut down on that administration?
Oh, certainly, and I think the reality is...
What's realistic then?
Well, I think probably a visa every 2 years is probably a little bit more realistic. It would help with waiting times and things like that at Immigration New Zealand. It's pretty simple, isn't it? If you're doing half as much work every couple of years, theoretically, with checking and reissuing visas, that would be helpful. The Billion Tree Initiative is a fantastic thing for our country if we look at it from an environmental perspective. It certainly is a fantastic thing if it means that we can offer employment opportunities to some people that couldn't find employment opportunities. But we need for that program to be successful, because trees are getting grown in a nursery to get planted. And so those trees all just go to waste if the fundamentals aren't there. We need the land, okay, and we need the people to do the work. So from my perspective, I would look at it and go, you know what, I want some help from Minister Jones around getting access to overseas workers. I mean, as a country, we're talking about wanting to be a little bit more influential in the Pacific Islands. Our Pacific Island neighbours have got a lot of people that are keen to come here and work on our planting initiative. But also equally so, we're asking, I feel a little bit conflicted as an employer, where we have people that come over here, they leave their wives and children behind, and they come over here. I mean, it's deemed to be low-skilled work, so they can't bring their partners. But I have people that are working for me right now whose partner, and a man who looks after a bunch of guys for me, his wife and his children have been asked to leave this country because his work is deemed to be not skilled enough for them to be worthy of remaining in the country. And I sort of think some of those things, we need some... So
being able to bring your family with you, being able to bring a partner with you while you're here on a work visa, working in the forestry industry, would make it easier for you to get workers.
It's the humane thing, isn't it?
And that's forestry contractor Nathan Fogden. Now, we asked Immigration New Zealand if they'd made any policy changes since the launch of the government's 1 billion trees program. It told us there have been no specific changes to immigration policy in response, but the government has recently consulted on a new approach to employer-assisted temporary work visas and regional labour market planning. Advice on final decisions is currently being prepared for the Minister of Immigration's consideration.